Hello, YouTube. I'm just waiting for TikTok to turn up. I got my fancy mic because I know YouTube didn't sound too good before. So anyway, you should see my desk. Hello, B. I don't know what that symbol is after it. My eyesight isn't that great. Anyway, while we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from and how old your kids are. And hi, smiley face. And also, I'd love to know if you're new. I know that's a big ask, where you're from, how old your kids are, and whether or not you're new. I can always tell if people are new anyway by one question that they ask. We'll see if it comes up. Anyway, so while we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from, how old your kids are, and if you're new. You can answer one or all three. It's great. So just waiting for people to turn up. I'm also filming on YouTube at the same time. So Texarkana. I didn't know it was spelled that way. I thought it was Texarkana. Is it pronounced Texarkana or just Texarkana? Texas. I've said that a lot. I can't hear it anymore. I've said it too many times. Texarkana. I have no idea where that is. Texas is such a huge state. Texas, I'm raising 83 and 5-year-old grandchildren. 83 and 5-year-old grandchildren. CPS placed. Oh, that's tough. CPS placed. Good for you. So you're the grandparent and you're raising grandchildren. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard ask. That's a hard thing to do, to step up to that, because you've already raised your kids, right? We're in a different stage of life. I'm in the grandparent phase. It's just a different stage in life. So good for you. I mean, I would do it too, for sure. Of course I would. Border town. Oh, border town, LOL. Oh, you mean Southport? No, Texas. That's along the water, isn't it? Or is it along the border, along Mexico? I don't know. Okay, so let's just get going. We've got enough people to just get going here. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go up in the link above, you'll see everything I have up there. You can get my free behavior board. You can buy one of my courses, or you can hire me for coaching. By the way, my bedtime battles course just launched this morning, and it is $10 off if you get within 24 hours, and then that ends tomorrow at 7. I'm having a hard time saying this. The code for that, if you go in, if you want to buy the Bedtime Battles course, the code is bedtime 24 hours. So it ends tomorrow at 7 a.m. my time, which is Vancouver, California time. Oh, it was exhausting because I never have to say that over and over again. It's like a one-time thing I have to say. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I'm also filming on YouTube at the same time, and that's where these are saved. So they're not saved on TikTok, but they're saved on YouTube. Okay, with us, he's been through a lot of trauma. Yeah, the grandmother raising your grandchildren. He's been through a lot of trauma. 3-year-old was recently diagnosed high functioning. Yeah, that's really, I don't get into that in TikTok, like on social media when I'm doing these lives. That's more of a coaching issue. If you want and need my help with that, you have to check out the coaching in the link above. That's where I deal with all the crisis or specialty stuff, autism, or anything where there's trauma involved. That's all coaching one-on-one. It's to, the thing is that so many things that that I address in coaching, I have to assess the situation first. So I can't just give advice. That would be really irresponsible of me. Actually, I just did a really good video today. I just finished it. It's already posted, and it said, I was watching this thing with Bill Maher and Jordan Peterson. They were talking about parenting because Jordan Peterson has a book, 12 Rules for Life or something. Anyway, one of the things he talks about is parenting. And he says, his quote is, don't let your kids do anything that makes you not like them. Actually, he often says that don't makes you hate them. But I guess in the book, he was trying to be more soft about that. But yeah, what a good point. Because a lot of parents say, I love my kids, but I hate them because they're driving me nuts. You don't need to allow that to happen. So anyway, the video I just did was, I said, are we raising a generation of wimps? Because I often say this pleaser parent style, which is so trendy right now. I've been watching this happen. It's like a train wreck. I've been watching it happen for about 30 years now. And you're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues, or as Bill Maher called them, wimps. And then he added something to it. He said they're emotional hemophiliacs. They just bleed emotions because they've got no strength. They've got no, you're trying to make everything too easy for them. You're not doing them a service. You're actually doing them a disservice. So anyway, I'm a leader. I really believe that the home life should be absolutely wonderful. But when I sent my kids out there in the world, I trained them how to deal with the world. I didn't go out in the world and try and protect them. unless it was life and death. But if they were up against a bully or a teacher that was being mean to them or anything like that, I discussed with them how to problem solve. There's no way I would have gone storming into a school talking to a teacher unless they did something really awful. But anyway. Okay, parenting questions. Okay, I have a yeah. I have a 2-year-old. I have 2-year-old twins, and going out alone with them is difficult. They don't want to stay in the cart and want to run other directions. Well, don't you have like they have carts where you can put 2 kids in them? So I strongly recommend you don't give them freedom when you're out. Like if you're out shopping, I talk about that all the time. Actually, in my tantrum course, I talk about trying to grocery shop with a tantrum kid. And a lot of things lead to tantrums. If you sometimes let them help with shopping and other times you don't, it's very confusing to them. Here, you can put the toy in the cart, and then they want the eggs. They don't understand the difference. So you're kind of setting yourself up for failure with a lot of these things. So yeah, my kids never had a choice. They sat in that cart and that was it. And I know there are larger carts for 2 kids now. So I would just look for that, wait for that cart, and only go shopping where they have that 2-kid shopping trolley or cart or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, and then I had, what made that work so beautifully is I had a little shopping cart treat bag, and that little shopping cart goodie bag would sit in their laps. And they would open it up, and inside I had a whole bunch of toys. I rotated it, so it was never the same. And I just go get dollar store stuff. They never saw anywhere else. They only had that little goodie bag in the shopping cart. They were quite happy to sit up in there because they had that little goodie bag. I had little snacks. I had a sippy cup with drink in there, little games. Plus, they were eye level. We'd be chatting while they were, oh, what's this? Oh, how exciting. So yeah. Don't give them freedom. Once you give them freedom, it's hard to get them back in, but the goodie bag is a good enticement to get them back in. And then as soon as we got to the car, that goodie bag was taken away from them. They never got that in the car or anything. So that was only when they were sitting up in the shopping cart, and they just understood that was just the rule. So yeah, it's your lack of consistency usually. Sometimes you'll have them in a cart, sometimes you won't. It's the inconsistency that throws them off and makes your life so difficult. Geez, I haven't done a live. Did I do one yesterday? I have no memory of doing a live yesterday. Did I? I don't know. Anyway, I feel awkward, like I haven't done one in a couple days because I'm usually on here every day. Anyway, okay. Just feel awkward. I'm almost feeling shy because I don't think I did one yesterday. I must have. Anyway, do you help with sleep training? Yeah. That's coaching right now. Sleep training is generally with a baby when you're trying to get them to sleep and you don't want them waking up throughout the night. That's a little bit different than the bedtime course. The bedtime battles course is not about sleep training a baby. That's different. It's a whole different thing. So yeah, that's still just coaching. It's just one session. If you're interested, go and check on the link above if you're interested. I don't know what you guys are talking about here, but someone said you're talking to each other. You said you can sign up for Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. They mail a book once a month. It's free too. I love her. I don't know anything about country music or anything, but I love Dolly Parton. I just think she's such a good person. She's done a lot of great stuff. So yeah, sounds good. I didn't know that was free. Well, it makes sense. Yeah. Yes, I have a 15-month-old. Would you recommend it? Ooh, 15 months. That's almost ready for the Bedtime Battles course, which just launched today. You get $10 off if you sign up for that today. 15 months. Are they still in the crib? It's kind of when they're in a bed. Once they're in a bed, then that course is sort of applicable. Yeah, it still might just be one session if you want. Plus, if it's one session, we get through that pretty quick, and then we deal with a whole bunch of other stuff. If you're only getting me for 1 hour, I smash a whole bunch of stuff into that hour, so be prepared to take notes. But yeah, I don't think that course, I put it down between 2 and 8 years old, because that's sort of when they're in their own bed. Yeah, it's still kind of a baby when they're 18 or 15 months old, still kind of a baby. You were live yesterday. You didn't want to go out in the rain. Oh yeah. Oh, and was I drinking my kombucha? Was that it? I didn't want to go out in the rain. I did have to go out in the rain. Yeah. When do chores start? Chores start at 3 years old, because at 3 years old, they just sort of have more of a sense of reasoning. Okay, I know some of them are unreasonable, but they can reason. So they understand, you know what? If you make a mess, you have to clean it up. So what I used to do, though, is I made it very easy for my kids. I always set my kids up for success. So here were their daily chores every single day. They had to make their bed, put their laundry away, and put their toys away when I asked them to do so. So anyway, but it was all very easy. I'm I'm more of a minimalist. I'm also very fussy and organized. And I did laundry every single day. And also I had a toy rotation system. And they didn't have any sheets or anything. They just had the bottom sheet and the duvet with the duvet cover, which I put on, of course. So all they had to do was pull the duvet up, put like one outfit away, and I had an empty hanger and an empty spot where I filed all their clothes in the dresser. So it was so doable, and they had a toy rotation system going. So there's only 5 toys to put away, and I like open shelving so you can see everything. And there was virtually like a spot for every single toy. They knew that. So, but yeah, and it was under 2 minutes. Their chores at 3 years old took them under 2 minutes. Not once did they ever argue or not do it. Not once, not ever. Why would they? It was all doable. And I always kind of used incentive. Like I would say, if they wanted to watch TV or something, and I'd say, sure, as soon as you've done your chores, and they go running around doing their chores. So I always wanted to set my kids up for success. I don't like confrontation. I don't like negativity. So I always tried to set them up for success, but they had rules. Do chores, do homework, go to bed at a certain time, sit at the table while you eat, don't get up. You know, there was rules, but they never argued any of them because, I don't know. Think about it, though. The way I set them up for success is, sure, you can watch TV. As soon as you've done your chores, the as soon as method. Why would they argue that? Plus, it was so doable because I'm very organized and it was minimal. Okay, my friends oh, you're asking about your friend. I don't discuss that. I only talk about your kids and parenting. I have a strict policy about that, so you could reword it and talk about them like they're your kids, though. I'll pretend I didn't see that. Okay. How do I deter my 5-year-old from picking up bad habits from school, swearing, chewing? Oh, okay. You're not going to like my answer, but you're going to get it anyway. So, when you set yourself up as a leader, they are not vulnerable to other people's influence. They just aren't. When you're a really strong, calm leader at home, they turn to you for everything. And by the age of 5, they certainly do. They carry your leadership umbrella everywhere they go. So like my kids were exposed to all that stuff, but I was such a leader at home that they wouldn't have done that. They just would have been embarrassed. So work on your leadership skills, and they are not vulnerable or impressionable. They're not vulnerable to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. Nothing can take them away from your leadership. It's just the way it is because they love it. It makes them feel safe. It gives them that warm, safe feeling, having a leader that they can turn to. So work on your leadership skill. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. Check out my boot camp course. That might be for you. It just teaches you how to set yourself up as a leader in 5 weeks. So check. It's in the link above. Okay. Okay. You make this sound so easy. I made the mistake of raising my 5-year-old wrong, and now I'm paying for it. You mean oh, are you kidding me? 5 years old? Is there any reversing bad parenting in the beginning after 5? That's just a baby still. Geez, I specialize in teenagers. We can reverse it with 15, 16-year-olds. 17 and 18 is harder. It's still doable, but it's much harder. But yeah, 5 is still just a baby. Of course you can reverse that. Of course. Absolutely. Sheesh, it's still just tiny. That's tiny. My favorite age is teenagers. Because when you're a good leader and you know how to shift your parenting when they're teenagers, they're just fun. Because there's mutual respect. So it's all about that. Anyway, just one more time, or I'm just going to repeat this. I know I mess it up because I'm only going to have to say this once. My Bedtime Battles course is finally done. I know I've been talking about it for a whole year. It launched at 7 a.m. This morning. It's available for $10 off special at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, Pacific time. And the code for the discount is bedtime 24 hours if you're interested. It's all in the link above. Okay. That reminds me, you asked about, can we reverse it at 5? I often get clients of 3-year-olds and they say, I know we messed our kids up. Is there any chance we could reverse it? I'm like, these kids are so little still. They're still, they're really forming like in a huge way for the first 7 years, but still at 8, 9, 10, 12. Yeah, easy. Teenagers are more difficult. 17 and 18, more difficult. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. You can change that. 10-month-old who had tantrums, so he doesn't anymore when he doesn't get what he wants. Yeah, they're going to have to. They either have them or they don't. There are 4 things that they're either going to be born to have or they don't do them. There's 4 things, and it's nothing you've done. Okay, my son had tantrums. My daughter didn't. I never did. I can remember. I was probably 2 or 3, and I can remember looking at kids having tantrums, thinking, "What are you doing? How embarrassing. What are you? I was so confused. I thought, why are you doing that? And my daughter had the exact same reaction. She'd look at other kids having tantrums like, what on earth are you doing? She just would stand there like that. She was so confused by it. Anyway, they're either born to do these things or they're not. One is tantrums, obviously. The other one is aggressiveness. They either hit and bite and do all that stuff or they never do. And the other one is runners. When they don't look back to see where you are, they just take off no matter where you are. And the last one is the worst one. It's climbing, because that's the most dangerous. I had a client who couldn't find her 18-month-old little girl. She was on top of a fridge. She had climbed up there. Imagine if she'd fallen off head first. Anyway, so climbing's the worst. You just put bells on everything that they use to climb and childproof your home and all that as best you can. Put a bell on the kid even if you have to make sure. Anyway, but yeah, those are 4 things, but they don't last forever. And those 4 things can be turned into positive things down the road, like especially with runners, because if they're runners, they're not looking behind you. They're going to be very independent, they might be the leaders of tomorrow. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a disaster and end up in jail. It's just that they're born to do those certain things in the toddlerhood. By the age of 3, 3.5, those things should kind of take care of themselves. With your leadership, they go away. Okay. I have no idea what this is. Yes, my son climbs. We got the nugget couch. Solved everything. What the heck is the nugget couch? I have to look that up now. That would be a good thing for a lot of parents to know if that's a good thing. What's a nugget couch? Oh. Is that right? Just a second, I'm going to look it up. I'm just curious. The nugget couch. Oh, I see. Yeah, that is that. Oh, I see. Can't climb on that, can they? Interesting. Okay. Okay. Oh my God. What do you do if they hit all 4? They hit all 4. My youngest definitely does it all. Lots of them do. Lots of them do it all. But the thing is, when they're toddlers, toddlerhood is a very short period of time. They're just crazy. And they're going to go through this stuff. You just have to learn how to manage these behaviors. I have a bunch of little toddler courses. There's 4 of them now in my link above there. Just a sec. What was I going to look up? My top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Mouthful. I'm going to read that out. They're just toddlers are. What's interesting is whenever parents hire me and they have older kids, and toddler to me is under 3, by the way. And when they have toddlers, they never talk about the toddlers. If I ask about them, how's things with the toddler? Toddlers, they're just crazy. So they don't even try and work. Anyway, so let me just read these top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is enter their world to connect with them. You don't go to the nail salon with your 3-year-old to connect with her. You go to the park and roll down the hill with her. Number 4 is stop with the mini therapy sessions when you're disciplining. What your feelings and you shouldn't have done that. It's a whole bunch of garbage. All those words are for you. Those therapy sessions are feeding the mother's needs. It has nothing to do with the child. Nothing. They're all about consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. Number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They haven't developed sanity yet. That's why they're crazy. They just haven't developed sanity yet. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They're going to do crazy stuff. Some of them even stick their hands down their pants and smear poop on the wall. To that child, that's completely normal. So thank God my kids didn't do that. I did it evidently when I was a baby. But my mom went in the room and my dad heard her scream out from the nursery. And he went in there and when he saw it, he started laughing and he says, I'll clean it up. It's no worse than an old cow barn, because he was raised on a farm. So I was evidently like a cow. So anyway, it's funny. We now use it as his floor bed. Is that nugget couch? That's a very good idea, actually. Kids don't need all this paraphernalia. I remember when my first son, I have 2, a boy and a girl. When my son was born, one of a family member said, we'd like to buy you a bassinet. I said, actually, I don't really want a bassinet. I just want a crib. And then I had the pram, like in Australia, it's called a pram. And I just want to push him around the whole house in that pram. That's where I don't need a bassinet. They were so insistent. You need a bassinet. Not once did I ever miss having a bassinet. You don't need everything. And you don't need the toddler bed even. You could just get I would just get a real set. I think I put our kids' crib mattress on the floor and used that for quite a while. because I didn't want them falling off the bed, right? So yeah, you don't need all this fancy stuff for kids. They grow out of stuff so fast. Okay. I just did a video. I was going to say it's a little bit controversial, but everything I say is, so I don't care. Anyway, I just talked about, are we raising a generation of wimps? It's a little bit off topic because I'm usually answering questions, but I feel really strongly about this. You want to make the home life really lovely and wonderful. You address bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid. Make their home life a safe place to land, a comfortable place to be. But don't try and protect your kids when they go out there in the world, unless it's life and death stuff, obviously. But yeah, if they come against bullying, being excluded, which is another form of bullying, although that's debatable. If they have a teacher they don't like, if something doesn't go their own way, if they want participation awards, what a bunch of garbage is that? But anyway, they want all that. Don't do that. You protect them at home, like in that it's all loving and beautiful. But when they go out in the world, you want to raise strong individuals. I raised problem solvers. I taught my kids how to deal with bullying, and I said, if you get a bad teacher, that's good news. You're going to have bad bosses you're going to have to learn how to deal with. So I didn't want to try and make everything easy for my children. I didn't want to roll out the red carpet in the world for them, because you're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. And that's what's happened. I've been watching this happen for 30 years. 30 years ago, this pleaser parent style came in, and it started with participation awards, which is absolute garbage. How stupid is that? Is that the dumbest thing? And then they'd even get them, even if they didn't go to the game. The mother would go in, I want them. They didn't get their participation award. They didn't even turn up. So that's how stupid it got. I was watching this. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Anyways, I get really annoyed at this, because I see where it's all gone wrong. And I mean, it's good for my business, because I get those kids later on, because the parents realize it wasn't working, right? So, but I'd rather not get as much business and you guys not have to go through that, because they really need leadership. They really do. And part of leadership is setting them up for the world and not protecting them from the world. The funny thing is, pleaser style parents are usually the worst yellers too, because what happens is the kids just wipe their feet on you. They treat you like a rag, and because they have no respect for you if you're a pleaser parent. And then, but yeah, you end up yelling. So you're trying so hard to be loving and nurturing, and yet you end up yelling at your kids. So, but yeah, it's just because it doesn't work. That's the thing. Oh, shoot. I meant to do a video on that today. Should I talk about that right now? Let me think. I've just got all these notes of things. I go through all my comments and messages. I get so many messages on Instagram and TikTok. I've got a comment here on YouTube. Most of my audience is on TikTok and Instagram. Will the bed battles work with a 2-year-old in the same room as her own, in the same room on her own bed? Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah. I love this. Oh my God, I've made all these mistakes. That's cute. All my clients have, you know what? When we go to learn something, like you're here to learn about parenting, we go in because you've never done it before. Why do you expect to know all this stuff? Too many people think that they should know parenting should just come naturally. No, it doesn't necessarily do that. The reason it used to more is because there was a village raising kids. We were all watching our parents parent. We were all, it was sort of a village. You had more, now we're all on our own, right? It's just a different dynamic. Anyway, yeah, it does work. If a child's in a bed and they're in a room with someone else, it still works. Yes, it does. It's usually one night of hell, though, just so you know. Often the worse that first night is, the less likely they are to ever get up again. So the bigger the battle, the bigger the lesson. The bigger the storm, the bigger the rainbow, and all that stuff. I was going to say, I just want to reiterate this too. I mean, I'm really come down hard on you guys sometimes, and I feel bad about it, but I know that this pleaser parent style is so popular right now, and I know you're doing your absolute best, but really the pleaser parent is the type of parent who tries to make everything easy. Sometimes people will even say to me, how do I make chores fun? That's a pleaser parent. I went into the school and I told the teacher that my child doesn't like that. They like this instead. That's a pleaser parent. That kind of stuff. Yeah. You're trying to talk through all their big feelings all the time rather than just dealing with the bad behavior. That's a pleaser parent. You know what you're doing when you do that? This is going to be your 18-year-old kid. You didn't validate my feelings. Well, I'm just a bus driver, lady. Anyway, what I was going to say was parenting is the hardest job in the world, with the least amount of training, and yet everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. Go easy on yourself. You're here to learn. Whether I speak to you or not, if you hate me and you can't stay on, I'm saying, go on to someone else. But look for these 2 criteria. If you're going to take parenting advice from anybody, they have to have these 2 things, or else I wouldn't even listen to them. They have to have finished the job with their own kids. Don't take advice from someone who hasn't finished the job. How do they know what's going to lead into those teen years? We're investing in the teen years here. That's what I want for you. I sailed through those teen years because I got my leadership cemented when they were little. And it's just, I know where to go, right? They have, that person that you're going to for parenting advice has to have finished the job with their own kids. The second one is they might not have learned much with their own kids. My kids were pretty easy. I got respect when they were little. So how would I know how to deal with troubled teens, right? I worked with them. You have to have tons of experience with hundreds of other kids with all sorts of challenges. So make sure if you don't like me, go on to someone else, but they have to have finished the job with their own kids and have tons of experience with hundreds of other kids to really be an expert at this, because it's experience-based, okay? It just is. That's why so many of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. I couldn't do what they do, and they identify that parenting is different. It's personal. It's different from their job. And it's not that they're struggling more than anybody else, but they're learners and they want to perfect this, right? So yeah, but anyway, taking advice from someone without those criteria would be like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank. It doesn't make any sense. You want to take financial advice from someone with $1 billion in the bank. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Okay. How do I get my 3-year-old boy to not be mean to his 1-year-old sister? Okay, a little bit. It's easier with a 4 and a 2-year-old, but a 3 and a 1-year-old, and I'll tell you why in a second. 3-year-old, he's just learning this stuff. So put on the behavior board. That's free in the link above there. The behavior board. Put down his rule is no hurting his little sister. Just put it down there. He can't read yet, so do pictures and explain it to him. The behavior board explains how you set that all up, okay? So you do that, and then you say to him, no hurting your little sister. And if you do, she gets to play with your favorite toy for 10 minutes, and you play with her with his favorite toy. Don't let him near her. And that's his punishment for hitting her every single time. If it's a 4 and a 2-year-old, you don't have to be there playing. It gets a little bit easier as they get older, and the 2-year-old kind of gets it a bit more. 1-year-old doesn't. You have to sit there and play with them. But yeah, that's a good consequence. I also have a course on toddlers who hit and bite. It's really good for that. Teaches you how to deal with that. That's that aggressive behavior. My toddler hits, scratches, and bites me for no reason and laughs. Is this normal? It's normal for a biter. Like, they're either born to be aggressive or they're not. That's your job to train them out of that. So they're about consistent corrective actions. You just say no, and you remove a toy, remove the fun, remove them from the fun. Make sure that there's consistent action. It's not about words. Words are garbage with toddlers. I know it's trendy right now. Let's discuss your big feelings. It's garbage. That was invented to feed the mother's needs, not the toddler. Not for them at all. You enter their world. You speak their language, which is all actions. The first 7 years is really formative, and they learn through observation, not words. Their observations is how you form. In your first 7 years of life, it's through observations. I just heard some big scientists, they just announced that. So it's almost all observations, not words. So they're not listening to you, they're watching you. My 2-year-old won't stop his tantrums even when I ignore them. It takes time. It takes time. Did you get the tantrum course? Yeah, it takes time. It's an investment, especially if you fed them in the past. If you've just started ignoring them and he's 2 years old, he remembers the old you when he used to get attention for them. It's going to be harder. You set yourself up for it harder if you've done that. It's still doable. All my clients have made these mistakes, and then they say, yeah, it works, but you got to invest in this. You got to work for this. You got to earn this. You got to work for this leadership stuff. It doesn't just get handed to you. That's why on my behavior board, which is completely free, on there's only 1 rule per week. You deal with 1 rule per week and you master that. It's not even so much about the rule. It's about you starting to learn how to be a leader. There's a rule and a consequence, and you're on there too, because you have to be accountable. Remember what I just said about they're forming in the first 7 years, and they're doing it by observing. They're watching you. So if you're not accountable, I just think that's really rude. Like, if you expect them to be polite and respectful, but you're not. Like, I never yelled at my kids or anything. So why would they ever yell? They never yelled at me. So why would they? Because they were never yelled at. So, but it would be very unfair if I did yell. I only did it once, actually. And it was more at the garbage. My son dropped the garbage. He was 12 years old. and I yelled, and I'd never yelled before. He turned pure white. He'd never been yelled at before. So I bought him a PlayStation game. I felt so bad about it. So then he tried to pretend to drop the garbage after that, trying to get another PlayStation game out of me. And I said, yeah, not going to work. Anyway, he said that was the most traumatic event of his life. He said that when he was about 20. 12 years old, I yelled when he dropped the garbage. I'd never yelled at him before. He never heard me yell, ever. And he said it was a traumatic event. And I said, oh, suck it up, princess. Come on. You got a PlayStation game out of it. And I wasn't even really yelling at him. It was the garbage. Whatever. I felt bad. Yes, I bought him a game. Did I say suck it up, princess? Oh, yes. For sure. It's one of my favorite sayings. Not with little wee ones, obviously. What if they scream once? You do that? I ignore screaming. I ignore attitude. Oh, good. He turned 3 last week, so I can start the behavior board now. Very excited. Yeah, when they turn 3, that's their brain sort of starts to change. It's actually, I think it's probably quite a bit earlier than that, but by 3, like I would, yeah. I don't teach what I do. I teach what you need to do, because I had so much experience with kids, so I don't teach what I did at all. But I teach what you need to hear. And that behavior board, it took me a whole year to figure out that behavior board. So that how am I going to teach parents they have to be accountable? Because I was very accountable. And I thought, how am I going to teach that? And then I invented that behavior board and put the parents on it too. But it starts right at 3. That's when they can stop and reason. They can stop and think before they act. Will they do it? Probably not. It'll take a while. But they can. They have the ability to stop and think before they act. How to deal with a daydreamer. Oh, sorry. What was that? Daydreamer. You know, it used to be called something else. What did they used to call kids who daydream? There was a kind of a cute terminology they used to use years and years ago. Not a daydreamer. What was it? Maybe someone else can remember what it was. Oh, he's just got his head in the clouds or something like that. His head in the, it's really normal. Children are naturally creative. They're naturally dreamers. And it depends on the age. I mean, they have to learn how to focus too, but I think that we expect too much from them when they're little. So I actually think daydreaming is quite it's quite normal. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how old they are. If it's a problem in school, that's different. You might want my help. If you want my help, you can. Stargazer, yeah. Space Cadet, yeah. It wasn't that. It was something else. It was a really weird term. Okay. How do we talk about emotions? Okay. Now, I know what you're thinking. If they have tantrums in that, then how do you deal with emotions if you're supposed to ignore the tantrum? A tantrum is not emotions. A tantrum starts out only because they didn't get their own way. If they're having a tantrum because they're hungry or tired or sick, you don't ignore them. You meet their needs and manage their wants. Their tantrums are based on wants, and it's okay to ignore that they're not getting what they want. Okay, that's not really a big feeling or a big emotion. That's just, hey, I want it my way. That's all. It's okay to ignore that. Now, other feelings. Here's the thing: when you're a really good leader, their emotions, their feelings tend to be really calm. Children who come from a leader tend to be quite calm. They don't tend to be highly emotional. They don't tend to have anxiety. Because they have a leader, makes them feel safe. It makes them feel calm. And you talk about feelings all the time, but it's organic. You don't have the mini therapy sessions. Like my kids told me everything right through the teen years because I was a safe place to land. I was a good listener, and I was a safe place to land. But we didn't have the mini therapy sessions. If they'd had something awful they were going through, yeah, we discussed it. But if they were if they were being disrespectful or something, I wouldn't talk about it. They just didn't. So my son's 8 years old and being bullied. Yeah, bullying's a big one. I might do a video on that soon. It doesn't come up a lot, amazingly. I think because on the lives, a lot of people have little children and they're not in school being bullied yet. Anyway, here's how you deal with bullying. First of all, I'll tell you my story. I was in grade 2 and I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of class. So I was in the hallway all by myself coming back from the bathroom. And coming down in the hallway, and I was all by myself, was, what was his name too? Anyway, it doesn't matter. He was in grade 5 and he was the school bully. I never had anything to do with him. You're in different areas of the school, but he was coming out of the principal's office. Anyway, it was just the two of us in this empty hallway, and I was terrified. He saw me. He was licking his chops. He was going to come for me, right? So I was like this. Anyway, I couldn't get away from him. I had to pass him to get back to my classroom. My last name was Hanky, so it was Lisa Hanky. So he comes right up in my face and he goes, "Hanky Panky." And I said, "I prefer Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle." "Oh, well, got to get back to class." He never came near me again. And I was never bullied or anything. I was a pretty strong personality. But like people didn't come, just why would they bully me? Because I would just use humor. Anyway, but what I did, and I didn't know I knew how to do that, but I did, obviously, was I agreed with him, I used humor, and then I diverted the attention to something else. So that's what I teach. I teach children how to agree with the bully, use humor if possible, and then change the subject. So let's say a kid comes up to him and says, "Oh, you got a huge nose." And then I always tell kids, say something like this: "Oh yeah, it runs in the family. We've all got the big schnoz. Anyway, what have you got for lunch?" It throws the bully off. They only want that negative reaction. If they don't get it, they're going to move on to someone else. Now, how do you get kids to do that? Like I was raised my mother was very funny and very witty. So I kind of, just had words. It was easier for me. But if their kids aren't good with words, then you role play at home. Because if they act it out with you, you be the bully, then they be the bully, go back and forth, make it theater, make it fun. You don't role play with the truth, though. You don't role play with the big nose if that's what the kid has been told. You put the silly hat on and use that as the thing that you're attacking, right? "Oh, I hate that hat you got on your head." "Yeah, well, the whole family, just teach them how to do that. The whole idea behind that is when they've practiced that at home with you, the more they've said it out loud and like done it like a little mini theater, it comes more naturally when they're up against the bully. They will be scared, but it will come out a lot easier. So you agree with the bully, use humor if possible, and then change the subject. Ask the bully question, like, "What do you got for lunch?" Ask them a leading question. And it's the best way to deal with bullying. If it's physical, you don't teach them to fight back because bullies are not always cowards. Some of them are experienced fighters, okay? So you never ever teach a child to fight back physically. I don't want to go into it, but I've got a lot of stories that I could tell you about that. But that didn't go well. Anyway, and if it is physical and it's on the school grounds, not off the school, that's not the school's responsibility. But if it's on school grounds and it's happening there, that's up to the school. The school needs to be told about this. And it's their job to keep your children safe. So anyway, but you still do that role playing. It's a really good tactic. I've taught that to hundreds of kids, and they said, "It works, it works." I've got some questions on, okay, I like this one. It's from Sam46 on YouTube here. Okay, how to handle lying. 4-year-old said little brother too fell, but in reality, he pushed him and caught him in a lie. That's twofold. He's hurt his little brother. Also, he's lied. And I always say on that behavior board, you always address any aggression first. It's the first thing you address with kids. So I would say no hurting the first week in the behavior board. The next week, put down no lying. But the first week, put down no hurting your little brother. And then every time he does, there's a consequence. He's 4 years old. Every time he does, there's a consequence. His little brother gets to play with his favorite toy for a while. And you play with him with that and keep the 4-year-old away. Something like that, okay? But yeah, and then the next week, you do 3 behavior boards in 3 weeks. And you might want to check out my boot camp course. It explains all this. Anyway, it's in the link above. But anyway, so you have 3 behavior boards. The first one say no hurting other people. You just put something like that. And then the second one is no lying. You want to catch them in a lie. So yeah, lying is a really good one. Lying is one of my favorite ones to deal with. Anyway, I won't go into it, but anyway. What should I do if I'm feeling really stuck? Well, you can check out my courses above. The boot camp is from 3 to 12-year-olds. That will certainly unstick you or unstuck you. But yeah, just keep watching. Try something new. Toddler only listens when I get loud. Well, then yeah. Toddlers are not about words. They're about actions. So yeah, I don't know what to say to that because I don't know exactly what you're addressing. So my son had tantrums. My daughter never did. The only thing they had was he had tantrums. Anyway, I can remember he used to do that. You know, they go stiff as a board when they don't want to get in that car seat. And my friends and I used to say, geez, you got to wait and do the karate chop. We always used to call it the karate chop. You just have your hand on their belly or just below it, like around their hips. As soon as they take a breath, whoop, they're right in there and clip them in really quickly. But yeah, I wouldn't talk about it though. What's the point? They're stiff as a board. It's all these words make you look weak. I would just look away like this, got my hand there. I'm just waiting, and then hey, clip in. Yeah, parents always want to talk things through, but there's a time for action, a time for talking, you know? Like when they're naughty, that's not the time for talking. You're not reasoning through anything. You're dealing with bad behavior or you're dealing with something difficult. That's not the time for talking. Yeah, not at all. Okay, how can I help my 6-year-old daughter who's struggling to make friends at school, please? Yeah, this, I don't know why that kind of always upsets me because it's so awful when you're don't have friends when you're a little kid, right? Anyway, what I do is I do role playing and you teach your child how to, there's a few different things you can do, but this is just my general TikTok answer. Teach her how to talk to other kids, and they do it by asking questions about themselves. So they say, oh, what have you got for lunch? Or what's your favorite class? That can help. But if kids are going to snub them, they're just going to ignore them anyway. So it's really rough. Get them involved in as many things outside of school as possible. And they get better at interacting with people. And it's just social skills, right? So yeah, just get them involved. And it's tough though. It's no easy answer with that. And also school is a really small pool to pull from. Like, you know, when you think about how many people there are in this world that you really get along with and a whole bunch that you don't really like one way or the other. So you've only got their world is very tiny when they're at school. That's why you want to, build their world up, make it something bigger. So you have them out and doing dance and football or whatever else, playing music, art classes, theater. But yeah. I've taken the bottle away cold turkey. She's 2. It's been 2 weeks. She still cries to sleep. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, you feel bad for them. Cries to sleep. Yeah, I don't know. Like what I mean is it might just take time. Some things are just painful in life, right? Taking a bottle away, geez. Yeah, I don't know. You might want to get like I like to, if I take something away, I like to replace it with something else. So have you tried the sound machines or the galaxy lights? Something that would make her bedroom more, just maybe divert her attention away from it a little bit. Buy her a nice plushie that she might like. So rather than just take something away, you give them something else. It's still going to be hard though, right? I'll tell you the quick story about my son though. When I took his soothers away, he had tantrums. He was very attached to that soother. He never not had it in his mouth. I mean, he was just one of those. So anyway, he was 18 months old. We just got back from a huge overseas trip, and he was 18 months old. I wasn't going to take it away before that trip because we had a 24-hour with a layover. It was a 24-hour trip. He didn't sleep for 24 hours. So I thought, there's no freaking way I'm going to take that dummy away before that trip. So anyway, we get home. I think it was the day after. I always would say hungover, but we were, what's that called? Jet lagged. My son was not hungover, neither was I. Anyway, we were jet lagged, just felt like crap, both of us. Anyway, I thought, I'm going to take that dummy away. So we put them all in a baggie. And then I carried him, and we went out to the outdoor, the big wheelie bin. And I opened it up, and he put them in there. And I said, bye-bye, you're a big boy now. And then I got him sippy cups. And I knew he had tantrums. I thought, why would I do that with jet lag and everything? He never asked for them once. Every so often he'd go like this, and then he'd go to look at me, and I'd look away really quick. I wouldn't get eye contact when he went like that. And he not once ever asked for the dummy. I couldn't believe that. That was not him. That was just, I don't know what happened there. If I was religious, I would say that was divine intervention, because I thought for sure he was going to have a fit, but he never did. So, but normally he would have. So it normally would have been very difficult. So that's what I expected. That was abnormal, that he was so easy. Yeah, toddler knocks over things, so they get violent when they're having a tantrum. That's part of the toddler tantrum busting course if you're interested in that. But basically, just restrain them. You ignore them. You don't look at them or talk to them, but you just physically restrain them. When they get violent, they're hurting themselves, they're hurting other people, or they're damaging property, you physically restrain them. You do not do that with a 7, 8, 9-year-old. When you get up, no, you don't do it. When they get bigger, you don't do it. There's other things. But anyway, when they're little, you just physically restrain them. Is it going to get worse? Yeah, that's okay. That's on them. I always say their tantrums, none of your business. That's their brain processing, not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. If you interfere in that process, you're slowing it down. You're going to make your life a lot more difficult, and their life too. When you learn to ignore tantrums, and they learn that that gets them no attention, it never gets them what they want. They learn that quite young, okay? You will minimize those tantrums in duration, frequency, and intensity if you learn how to ignore them effectively every single time. Oh, do you think I should address the lying? That was you're talking about the little sister. So you've got a 4-year-old who's hurting the little sister, then lies about it. So she just fell. I mean, pushed her over, right? So I said to the mom, it's on YouTube, I said to you, sorry, I get confused because my YouTube screen's down there, but the camera's there and the microphone's here. I don't know. Anyway, look this way, Lisa. Anyway, I said with the behavior board, the first week you focus on the hitting because you want to prevent that from happening, right? So you focus on the hurting the little sister. Then the second week you focus on the lying. You do not address both. You just sort of fumble through the way you were before. And then the second week you address the lying. The reason is you do one rule at a time because you can only work on one. If I go in, if I went into your house, I deal with everything in day one. Everything. I'm level 10 with what I do. I know how to be a leader. You have to teach yourself how to be a calm leader. So that's how you do it. One rule per week. That is plenty, believe me. By week 2, you'll have 2 rules. No hitting your sister, no lying. By week 3, you'll have 3 rules. It might be put your shoes in the cubby when you come home. It might be something more simple like that. But then you'll have 3 of them. By that time, you're starting to get it. It's all about you and your leadership. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. By the way, just as a reminder, my Bedtime Battles course, it's out there now. It was available at 7 o'clock this morning, has a 24-hour coupon, $10 off. If you put in the coupon code bedtime 24 hours, you get $10 off. It's just my launch special. Anyway, so that's the Bedtime Battles course. I've been talking about it for a whole year. I finally got it done. I figured out why I didn't like it. It was actually done years ago. I just never liked it. I figured out what I didn't like about it, and I fixed it. I'll tell you what it was. There's 2 parts to bedtime. There's and I always say this, but I didn't have the course sorted out. It was just all over the place. Part 1 is getting them to bed. Part 2 is keeping them there. They have to be separate because lots of people struggle getting them to bed, and then there's no problem keeping them there, and the opposite. Sometimes they can get them to bed and they can't keep them there. So you want this 2 completely separate parts. Most people have problems with both. But anyway, so it's, why didn't I think of that before? Yeah, I just got lazy. So how do you ignore them effectively during a tantrum? I'm going to tell the swing story. It explains what you do and what you don't do. And anyway. Okay, this is the swing story. I tell it pretty much every day on here. And I got to pay attention when I'm talking because if I say the same story every single day, sometimes I daydream, I can't even hear myself. And then I think, did I say that right? Anyway, because I've told this story so many times. And I can't change it because it just was what it was. So I can't mix it up to make it more interesting for me. Anyway, okay, so here we go. My son was 2 years old and I took him to the park. And there was another mom there with her 2-year-old boy. I didn't know her. I'd seen her. She was brand new in the neighborhood. So we want to introduce ourselves. So there's 2 swings, 2 2-year-old boys. So as we're talking, we're putting our little boys in these swings. And we're just chatting. And then they both point to the other swing. They wanted the other swing. So we looked at each other and we said, well, let's just switch them over. Who cares, right? Let's just switch them over because we just want to chat. Sure enough, they both started tantruming at the exact same time. So I took my son over to the bench. He was 2 years old. I took him over to a bench away from the swing. He went to run back for the swing. I quickly put my arm out to prevent that. He knew me. He knew that when mom does something, that's going to happen. So he wasn't going to get back to that swing. So he sat back and had a tantrum. Only lasted about 2 minutes. While he's tantruming, I'm looking at the flowers, the birds in the trees, completely ignoring. I'm just waiting, calm as anything, waiting. It's very important that you kind of look like you're at a bus stop. You're just waiting. I'm waiting for the crazy to stop because I ignore the crazy and I reward the calm. He was 2. He was starting to catch on to this. Okay, he understood this. He was starting to catch on. Anyway, he usually had bigger tantrums. This one was only about 2 minutes. So he stopped tantruming. As soon as he did, I'm very quick because I ignore the crazy, which I did. Now I'm going to reward the calm. So he stops tantruming, and I said, "You all done? Okay, let's go back on the swing." I would never talk about that tantrum. That would just be ridiculous. So anyway, he goes back on the swing and he's swinging. He's having a great time. The other mother, that's what you do. Anyway, this is the other mother. So the whole time she's trying to comfort him. And of course, attention is tantrum food. It's building. It's getting worse and worse. She's trying to talk to him about what he should have done, what he's doing wrong. She's even saying these words, calm down, like, oh, mommy loves you. It was just garbage. It was agony to watch. Anyway, so he's like worse than 20 minutes of hell. He was going on and on and on. And then he stopped and he started getting the hiccup cries. And I'm thinking, oh, thank God it's finally over. Nope. After he started, he's got the hiccup cries. Then she talks about the whole scene and what he should have done differently. She gives him a therapy session. This poor kid was dragged through the coals, salt in the wound, digging the knife in even further. She dragged him through hell for 30 whole minutes. Then I guess he got back on the swing. My kid was tired, so we went home. That's why you ignore a tantrum, you ignore the crazy and reward the calm. My kid was starting to catch on. He thought as soon as I stop this craziness, I'm gonna get back on that swing, right? But her son, as soon as he calmed down, he learned I'm gonna get a therapy session. He's not gonna get back on that swing. He's gonna get a 10-minute therapy session. Where's the lesson there? Where's the lesson? There was none. Anyway, she looked humiliated. I don't give advice unless I'm asked, right? And I don't think she could have handled it anyway. But maybe she learned by watching what I did. I don't know. But anyway, and I had tons of experience with kids before I had my own kids. So I had the upper hand that way. I was, more experienced. But yeah, that's why you ignore a tantrum. They learn. They just do. The first time, if you've been doing what she does, it's going to be way worse because they're going to say, I remember the old you, the yesterday you, when I got all that attention for the tantrum. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Okay. So yeah. Oh my God, I'm the other mom. Most of my clients are. That's the pleaser parent style that's out, is these therapy sessions. Discuss all their big feelings, discuss all their emotions. It's just a bunch of crap. It's really frustrating for me because I know exactly what's going on there. I see it. That was invented the pleaser parent style was invented to make the mom feel good. It's not for the children. It's for the mom. And it was based on mom guilt. Moms started going back 30 years ago. Moms are going back to work. They weren't around as much, guilt-ridden. So they said, well, have these mini therapies, discuss all their big feelings and big emotions. And then they ended up raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. I mean, it's just a disaster. So it had its day. Hopefully it's going out now. The pleaser parent style, total disaster. Anyway, the other style, the old style, was the authority style. My way or the highway. This is old-fashioned, right? My way or the highway. Not a bad way to parent. The kids will rebel in the teen years for sure against that authority style, but they'll come out the other end stronger and they're going to respect that parent all the way through. They'll rebel in the teen years, but they'll come out the other end appreciating what their parents did for them. The pleaser style parent, there's no respect. You're a dish rag. Your kids are wiping their feet all over you and they'll never respect you. And then they'll be entitled adults. That I'm exaggerating, of course, but that's where that's going. I saw that coming 30 years ago with those participation awards. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Participation for doing nothing. And the kids weren't even turning up to the games and the mom still asked for a participation award. I'll tell you, I don't know who invented that, but I don't know. It's just it's such a disservice to parents and the kids. It's mean. It's awful. Children desperately need a leader. That's what I teach, leadership. It's like a mentor, a really good coach. You're fun, you're best friends with your kids, but they do something bad, you deal with it. Hey, that wasn't cool. Here's the consequence. And then you go right back to treating them like they're wonderful again. Don't focus on all that negative. You deal with bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. I learned this. It just was cemented with me when I mentored troubled teens. It cemented all this. I've been dealing with kids now 52 years because I'm 63 now. I've been doing this for 52 years. But about 25 years ago, I was mentoring troubled teenagers. They cemented all this belief system. I get it. It worked with them too. I get it. I just get it. And they told me to start this. They said, you got to teach what you do, Lisa. No one's ever talked to us like you do. And some of them said, I never liked myself until I met you. That's the goal. You want them to like themselves when they're with you. Your goal is to make those kids like themselves, not you. They will. They'll end up liking you and they want to please you because they look up to you. You're a mentor. You're their parent. You're their best friend. You're their mentor. You're their coach. You're their soft place to land. They can tell anything to. But you also take care of the bad behavior. You don't ignore that and tantrums are not bad behavior, by the way. You do not ignore the bad behavior. You address it, get it over with really quick, and then you focus on the good kid again. Love them enough to do that for them. Love them enough to be a leader. They need, crave, and want a leader. If you don't provide that for them, you're going to send children out in the world who are very vulnerable because they're going to be searching leadership somewhere else because it's an instinct. They look for a leader. They're going to be very susceptible to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to search out a leader somewhere else. If it's not you, if it's you, they're not vulnerable at all. They'll come home and run everything by you. They'll tell you everything right through the teen years. So you want to raise strong, independent young people that respect you and you respect them too. So yes, friendship is a big part of this. You want to have fun. You want to be fun with your kids. Parenting was the most fun I ever had in my whole life. I got that pesky discipline out of the way when they were tiny, and mutual respect right through the teen years. You got to earn that. You got to work for that. You got to earn it. It's worth it though. That's what I teach. If you want my help, you can go and hire me for coaching. You can buy one of my courses or download my free behavior board. My bedtime battle course was just launched this morning. It's available with a coupon for $10 off. The coupon code is bedtime 24 hours, and it ends tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. That's Vancouver time, my time. I'll do one more question before we have to go. Okay, I was just looking at the YouTube thing. Anyway, check out that video I just did tonight. And it was from Bill Maher. He said, we're raising a generation of wimps, which is what I always say. I don't use the word wimp. I say self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues, but it's basically wimps, right? And he said they are emotional hemophiliacs. They're just so fragile. They're so fragile because you haven't been a leader for them. They desperately need leadership. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. That's all I teach here. And I'm on your side. Like, I want you. I don't teach kidding. They already know how to kid. I don't teach teenagering. They know how to teenage. I teach parenting. I want you to enjoy parenting. I want you to have fun doing it. And I want you to learn how to give respect to get it, because you got to give it before you get it. And it's work. You got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. It's hard work, but it's so worth it. Once you get it, once you're a leader, like, getting respect is really hard. But once you've got it, maintaining it is a piece of cake, because you just know how to do it. You should see the emails I get from my clients. They say, I shouldn't do this, but yesterday, Sunday, I was at the gym and I read one at the gym and I started to cry. I mean, just to see these transformations when these parents say, I enjoy my children, and they'll send me pictures of what they're doing with their kids now, just having fun with them. And it's just beautiful. Anyone can learn this. It's a learned skill. It's not something that you're just, I kind of was born to do this, but all my clients weren't. So I just teach them how to do it. Anyone can learn this. Okay, anyway, I went on. One more question. Okay, 4-year-old, you're not gonna like my answer. 4-year-old, hard time listening, everything is a joke, a game, continues doing what he shouldn't. Okay, that's a perfect sign of a lack of leadership. He's screaming for a leader. You're not fixing him, you're fixing yourself. You wanna set yourself up as a leader, and that wouldn't happen. They don't disrespect a leader at all. Once you're a leader, all that trouble goes away. All the disrespect, all the attitude, it all goes away. It just does. Think about it this way. Have you ever had a boss or a teacher or a coach that you looked up to? Would you ever be rude to them? And if so, why not? When they speak, do you listen? Why? Why? Well, 2 reasons. You respect them and they make you feel good about yourself. So wouldn't it be embarrassing being rude or disrespectful to someone that you looked up to like that? That's what I teach, leadership. They would be embarrassed to be rude to you. They want to please you. Okay, I gotta go. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out my course, The Bedtime Battles. You get $10 off. Bedtime 24 hours is the coupon code, and that ends tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Then the course is just regular priced after that. And check out my other courses and my coaching if you're interested. And my behavior board is free, as it always is and always was. So take care, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye now.